Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our talk. We're going to be talking about how we can age well. We realize you could have lots of questions, and Dr. Justine has made herself available. Just give her a quick text at the number listed on the screen. I wanted to welcome Dr. Justine and Dr. Udani here with us today. So Dr. Justine is our leader here at Justine Blainey Wellness Center. She is a passionate advocate in the community, an author, a public speaker, and she really feels that you deserve a healthcare team that focuses on your prevention. You can have optimal health, and open communication is so critically important. Dr. Udani is here with us today, and she is our naturopathic doctor here at Justine Blainey Wellness Center. And she genuinely believes that everyone has the ability to have a healthy and long-lasting changes in their lives. Please help me welcome Dr. Justine and Dr.
So once we coming up, we're talking about the 10 signs of aging poorly. So when I think of aging, I just think of my Oma and Opa. My grandfather died at 98, but I remember in his 90s, he turned his cane upside down. He was a field hockey player in his youth, and he started playing hockey with his great grandson, my son Teo. So just an amazing memory. And I also thought of my great grandfather who lived to over 100. And I remember being at his 100th birthday, and the fact that he was mentally there, he was physically there, he was still swimming with his great grandchildren. So when we think about aging, we want to be there for our families. We want to be able to give back to our communities, to our church, to be able to enjoy nature. That's where we're trying to head today. So we're going to talk about the signs, but of course the solutions today. And Dr. Udani has some great information for us as well. So when we think about aging, it has to do with inflammation. And inflammation, a lot of times I think of it as like a swollen ankle. You played soccer, you tripped, you fell, swollen knee, swollen ankle. You think of something red hot and swollen. But when you have inflammation, it can affect things that you don't feel. For example, what does inflammation of your brain feel like? What does inflammation of your thyroid feel like? What does inflammation of your kidneys feel like? A lot of times we don't actually feel the symptoms of inflammation, but we might have signs and symptoms that we don't recognize. We don't realize that they're related to inflammation. So when you look at this slide, you can see the inflammation affects pretty much everything in your body, from your brain to to your fingers to your toes. It's going to affect your heart. It's going to affect your muscles. It's going to affect how you breathe. It's going to affect your joints. It's going to affect how you digest food. It's going to affect how you eliminate and detox. So crucial is understanding the role of inflammation, but of course, how to reverse or reduce inflammation.
Absolutely. Like Dr. Justine mentioned, inflammation is the root of a lot of conditions that can be signs of aging. So for example, when we think about getting older, some of the things we're worried about is, getting diabetes or heart disease, having dementia, Alzheimer's, even cancer and arthritis. So these are all actually diseases that have the root of it is the inflammation. And sometimes it's chronic inflammation that's been going on for years at a time. And we just weren't aware of these symptoms that was causing this inflammation. And what this does is over time, it just like wears and tears your cells, and they just don't work as well, and just kind of accumulates over time to cause all of these degenerative diseases. So this is why we have to make sure we have to tackle inflammation. We have to look at the early signs of it, and also realize that it can be going on while we're just carrying on with our daily lives. So inflammation and oxidative stress is what we usually call the stress that comes from inflammation. And what it does is it blocks your body's natural healing abilities. A little bit of inflammation here and there, like Dr. Justine mentioned, when you have a sprained ankle, that's completely normal, actually. That's the way our body naturally responds as a healing mechanism. But what happens is what's not good is when this happens over time for a long time in our brain or thyroid or kidneys, That's when all of these things can go a little bit haywire. And a lot of times, our diet, our lifestyle, chronic stress, and even poor sleep can increase inflammation. So what does this do to our cells? The cells that we're all composed of, they're working so hard for us to make sure that we're staying healthy. Basically, this inflammation makes our cells from this hardworking, amazing group of things to zombie cells. So what that means is that they're just releasing more inflammation, and they kind of stop growing because over time, what these cells are supposed to do is they die off, and new cells are being born more and more. But with too much inflammation, this stops working. So that's why we can have a lot of these diseases happening, because we don't have any more of these good cells anymore. They become all zombified, and they can even release more inflammation that can just like spread to all the other cells too. So this is what we want to try to stop by healthy lifestyle and all of the amazing good facts that we're going to talk about today.
I think Dr. Udani just made a new word for the dictionary, zombified. I hadn't heard that one before, but awesome. We do not want our cells zombified. So it's awesome, Dr. Udani. And there are signs of aging poorly, fatigue. Um, Sometimes we think of like it's going to have to be severe fatigue, so you think you're sick, but fatigue could just be like you're not getting through the day. You're by 6 o'clock, you're ready to just sit in front of the couch and not get up. You're not having the energy to make that extra phone call to the people you care. So sometimes this fatigue level isn't as obvious. Aches and pains in our joints. We feel like until we get moving, we're so stiff. Forgetfulness and brain fog. You're just, thinking about like, am I in the middle of a sentence and then I forgot what I was talking about? You're in the middle of a conversation. You're watching your brain go into dreamland, so then you don't realize what's happening around you and aren't able to participate with your family conversations or with colleagues or with friends. Weight gain, especially around the middle. Muscle loss is part of aging if you allow it. It is not necessarily always going to happen. It's something that many of these areas actually are areas that you can control. Postural changes will review those, spider veins and the way your skin looks funny. See bluish and reddish spots under your skin that you didn't used to see in your 20s. Hearing loss and ringing in your ears. Changes to our skin. It can start to feel more paper-like, less vigorous and trigger, so you can't pinch it, and then the skin comes right back. It feels thinner, and then of course affecting our sleep. So these are crucial signs of aging that none of us want, and we have the opportunity to work on it now. So a lot of times we think, well, I'll deal with that when I get older, when I'm 50 or whatever you think's older, 60 or 70. But the time is now, right? We work on these areas now in order to have our senior years, let's say, at the time when my mom says you get the good discounts. You want to make sure that those years are your best, and you can't just wait and think it's going to magically happen in a couple of weeks. These are habits that we build up over months and years that make a difference later. I think of my grandmother on my stepmother's side, Ruby, and in her mid 90s, uh, and has had a tough life. And she's lost her spouse, my grandfather, and yet she's beautiful. Like, she has taken care of her skin. She clearly looks 30 years younger. And if anybody looked at her, they would never think that she's 90 when you look at her skin. But you do think that happened because she started taking care of her skin at 90 and 90 in her mid 90s? Or did she start taking care of her skin in her 20s and her 30s and her 40s? Um, and eating, like, she was meticulous about organic and homemade foods, and her walks and her prayer and her spiritual time. It's not even just the skin products, it's the whole picture. So I'm sharing that story about my awesome grandmother Ruby, is that this is something that we can all learn about in order to better ourselves. And again, not just for ourselves, because it's not enough for us to enjoy life living alone. It's about how we can, be with the people we care about. So when we look at the first one, first sign, fatigue and lethargy, um, that's not normal. Maybe it's normal that you need to hit the snooze for for the first time, but not really. I mean, I know I have a clock, 4:30, I'm up. Like it's a regular routine. You want to have your body clock wake you up at the same time all the time because you're just ready to go. If we're not, then or we're physically tired or sometimes just mentally tired that you don't feel like you can do anything or read or learn a new skill or learn a new language, just too tired to handle confrontation, too tired to dialogue and disagree, too tired to engage in activities with family and friends and games, or playing cards. If we're starting to think that I'm just too tired, I just want to like zombify, I just want to be a zombie on the couch, I just want to watch my show. If you hear that, then maybe this is part of what we want to, tune into, that this fatigue and it needs to be addressed so that you can really reach your full potential. I think the senior years got to be the best years of your life. Like this is the time to enjoy your children, your grandchildren, your travel, the people you love, your church, your community. This is the best time. And we have the least stress from work usually in our senior years. So this is the time to be our best. And so we want to address this fatigue. Now, some of this comes from mitochondria. Now, these are the power horses in our body. And a lot of times people don't want to think about these little cells, that you only want to think about what you see on the outside. But what's on the outside is a product of what's on the inside. We need to help our bodies be healthy from the inside out. That amazing physical, emotional, spiritual power from the inside out. And that means taking care of these cells, these mitochondria. And you can see from the cycle here that if you get damage from your diet, your emotions, your sleep, infections, toxins, posture, nerve damage, all of this leads to this chronic disease cycle. And when you have mitochondrial dysfunction, you look at the bottom of the page there, like what disease doesn't it affect? These powerhouses affect every single disease you can think of. They affect every single part of your life, from heart disease to cancer to depression. They affect all parts of our life. So we do need to have the right diet, the right testing to know that our cells are functioning well. And honestly, this is an area for the naturopaths. They do the right testing, they do the right questions, they help you get on the right track, because sometimes it's like having a blindfold. We don't even know when we're off track. We don't even know that we can't see where we need to make those changes. So an example is, going to the fridge and you're looking for a condiment. I don't know, say it's mayo or ketchup or whatever that you're looking for. And you turn to your spouse and I can't find it. Like, did you use the last bit of ketchup? And they come over your shoulder and go, boop, it's right in front of your face. Have you ever been looking for something and you can't find it, but it's right there? That's exactly what this is about. We need coaches. We need people on our team to see what we are blindsided by because of all the other activities, the stressors, the things that are in our life. And that's why we work as a team, Dr. Udani, myself, our full team at the Justine Blainey Wellness Center. Now, it's number one too is joint pain. Waking up and I'm got like I hear this. I got old knees. I got old hips. I got a stiff back. Like, ask yourselves, are these things that you say, oh, like I got a crick in my neck. I just so stiff. If that's us, if that's you, then aging starting in these joints, and you can help this. If you wait too late, the joints fuse and it gets too much spurring, too much degeneration, too much arthritis, and then it's extremely hard, if not impossible, to fix. Working with your joints, especially your spinal joints that house the spine and the nervous system, is something you work on in your teens, in your 20s. We do not want to wait till our 50s and our 60s because it's then extremely difficult to work with.
Mhm. I just have to say, Dr. Justine, I love that analogy you just said about the going to the fridge and can't not being able to find the condiment. Like that was just perfect.
It happens
So
to all of us, right?
yes,
Where we
right.
cannot find something that is right there.
Right there, exactly. And speaking of that, sometimes we have those days where we just can't find the words to put the sentence together. We feel like we gotta to go to our bedroom, or we don't know why we got there in the first place. So these are like little sneaky signs of aging in the brain too, and even things like depending on coffee all the time to go through the day because you just feel like you're not that sharp as you used to be. That's another, like a small sign that, hey, maybe there's something going on and that needs to be checked up. And a lot of times with our brain is very, very sensitive to stress, because it's like our big machine that does all the work. It is constantly running, even when you're sleeping too. Our brain is always functioning. And when we don't have enough sleep, or when we have too much stress in our lives without proper ways to manage stress, when we have high blood pressure, or we always go for that takeout or a KFC, McDonald's instead of the healthy veggies and fruits, or we have too much blood sugar, like so we eat too many sweets, or a history of diabetes, or even just like we're exposed to a lot of infections, this can really cause inflammation in the brain, and then we can get these small signs of signs of the brain aging. And this can be as small as forgetting why you came to the room for, or forgetting to pick up the keys, or sometimes then it gets bigger and bigger where we just think we're asking the same question over and over again, or we forget sometimes names, or why we even came to this location, like this, for example, let's say you go to the grocery store and you forgot what to get. So these are some like little signs. And sometimes, even having trouble with following conversation, like Dr. Justine mentioned, some of these are signs of could be mild signs of forgetfulness and brain fog. And actually see a lot of patients that have some of these symptoms, and they're actually really, really young. So, they come into my office saying, I just don't feel as sharp as I used to feel anymore. Like something happened, and I feel like I'm not there. I can't come up with sentences. I don't feel as energetic. So these are all signs to keep in mind. That could be some inflammation going on, maybe in another parts of the body that's affecting the brain too. So, and this is what we want to stop before you're in your 70s and 80s and 90s, because we want to be sharp for our grandkids and our family, and have that great amazing memory. Like I have a patient, she is 87, so sharp. Like she was talking to me about her when she was growing up in the 1930s, when the World War II was happening, and her memory was so sharp. So like we want to be like that, right? When we're at that age, to remember our life and tell our kids and everybody around us like how our lives used to be. So that's why when we get these signs, these small thing signs, we want to make sure we get that figured out and find a proper coach to coach you along to get that help you do need, so that we become more preventative, and we enjoy our later years. So this is another big thing. So weight gain, and the one I want to talk about is there's two different kinds of fat. Okay, there's the fat that you can pinch, so the ones that like you can pinch in the belly, and the fat that actually surrounds the organ itself. This is the fat you can't see. It's almost like invisible, but this is the really, really bad fat. Okay, and what this fat does, and it's called visceral fat, is that it is a really big, it produces a lot of inflammation. So it can cause, and that's why like sometimes the belly fat, not the fat you can pinch, but you feel like there's like a beer belly, or that's something, it just looks really, really bloated. That can actually be some of this bad visceral fat that's surrounding your organs. And this can cause really, really increased risk of a lot of diseases like heart disease, dementia, diabetes, even cancer, because this fat is very active. So this is where when you're getting like a little bit older, our metabolism also starts to slow down, right? So we just don't feel like, I had some patients that were saying, oh, I used to be able to lose like 10 pounds like nothing when I was in my 30s. But now that I'm in my 40s, it's so hard. Like you look at bread and you gain weight, like that kind of thing. So your metabolism goes down. And so it's like extra, you have to do extra hard workouts, or you feel like you have to diet so crazy to lose this weight. And sometimes it's actually just like this bad fat that's making it harder for you to lose weight too. So this is where eating really healthy, having a coach or someone to like set up a plan for you, where we can tackle this, like one at a time, one thing at a time, with your mental health intact too, because it's gonna be really stressful as well. That's where it's really important to look into this too. Making sure you're maintaining your weight is really important part of aging well.
So important to have that coach because it is a struggle for many of us. And some people they're not they don't look fat. I mean, they look extremely slim, but they still have that visceral fat. And sometimes that's because of toxicity that's being sort of trapped in that fat. And that's why you want to have a coach to help you with the detox, because many detoxes can be dangerous, or you could have a ton of side effects going through a detox, and you'll want to make sure that you are able to manage them, know what's a detox symptom versus a warning sign of something else going on. Number five of the signs is of dealing with bone and muscle loss. So in bone, a lot of times people think of osteopenia, which is the beginning of osteoporosis. That means like you have brittle bones. Your bones are weaker. You're more prone to falling and breaking something, or breaking something and then falling. It can actually happen in that order as well. Very, very common, as you can see in the pictures here, in the hip. And then when we also look and hear about sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle, and that is something you can control. You cannot build muscle in a week. You do not build muscle even over a year the same way you would over 20 years. Keeping that muscle strength actually builds that bone mass as well. So that's why we need to do more than just walking. I mean, I love that people are walking, especially with the pandemic. Out, get nature. That's amazing. That's not enough. It truly is not enough. It is not enough to just do cardio. We need we need to build the muscles in our upper body as well. So ask our kinesiologist, ask your personal trainer to help you with these programs. I help for my mom. We have a trainer, and for myself, Sue, who lives locally, to help create training programs for seniors to athletes. Customize it for you, so that also you're building that muscle, you're building that bone, but you're also making it fun. And if it's fun and it's a constant change of activities, not the same thing day in, day out, or even just week in, week out, we need a constant change for that muscles to continuously adapt to new stressors in order to improve our overall function, and then reduce the risk of falls, fractures, weakness, lack of mobility. You can't just do yoga or Pilates. You can't just walk. You can't just weight lift. We need to make sure we have a balance of all of those exercises in order to avoid osteopenia, osteoporosis, sarcopenia. As we get to these postural changes, you've seen it, right? Where you see the young kids, they've got this great posture. And then as you get older, you see people slump right down. And then the next thing you know, they're shorter. How many people are shorter in their 50s, 60s, 70s compared to before? And yet I have seen x-rays of 20-year-olds that look like they're 65. And then I've seen x-rays of people in their 60s and look like they're 20s. Why? Maintenance. It's about maintaining that great posture, because the bone creates these arthritis and degenerative changes to deal with a force and a pressure on it. And one of the biggest things is the weight of our heads. The head is like 10 pounds that you're lifting day in, day out. It's a weight you never put down. And so the more it's forward, the way you see in that picture like this, more it's forward, the more stress on that cervical spine, that neck, which can lead to damage that brain stem, affect those muscles, leading to headaches, vertigo, dizziness, migraines, shoulder tension, numbness and tingling down your hand, affecting your mid back. In fact, the weight of your head, the more it's forward, the more stress on your lower back, which affects things like degenerative disc, sciatica, And remember that these nerves in your neck, we've talked about the brain gut reaction. So these nerves here are also going to even affect your digestion and acid reflux. Reality is, if your posture isn't great, you don't feel great. I know when I'm stressed, I want to curl up in a ball. If I'm sick, I want to curl up in a ball. But when you're feeling great, your chest is open, you're breathing, you're strong, you're powerful, you walk with confidence. This is what we're aiming for, and this is what chiropractic can help you with, is by helping you, one, see where our postural changes are, because we may not even realize. A lot of times people have a low shoulder or a high hip, head forward, they kind of know it's there because their glasses slide down their face, or because they have to keep hiking up their purse, or they see the holes in their pocket, from their wallet, the wear signs of their pocket in their back pocket, so they know that it's there, but they don't realize just how bad it is. Then it's related to all these symptoms that we don't always put together, like sleep apnea, acid reflux, vision concerns, dizziness concerns, focus concerns. We don't always put it all together. But remember, your brain is the power horse, it is the control center in your body, not your heart. Your brain controls your heart. Your brain controls how you breathe, how you move. So we need to make sure we're looking at that reaction. So when we look at number 6, we look at these postures. You can see in the picture the shrinking, the hunching. This is something that we can help get. First of all, the exercises, the postural exercises. We can't just do walking, cardio, weightlifting. We need specific postural exercises that are designed for our personal weaknesses, our personal challenges. And that's what we do at the office. We provide specific spinal rehabilitative exercises with our kinesiologist based on your orthopedic spinal x-rays, examination, in order to customize your home program. And even if somebody is not receiving adjustments with chiropractic care, the absolute minimum would be to do your home care exercises, the very same that the dentist would say, if you can't visit me often, at the minimum, brush your teeth and floss your teeth. Is that not true, right? So we want to make sure you have this in order to avoid that humpback, or that dowager's hump, that kyphosis at the upper part of your back, and to help this uh, posture effect from your cervical curve, which is your neck curve, to your mid back curve, your thoracic curve, to your lumbar curve, your lordosis. Is, to say we have a sway back. No, 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 no. That means there's a problem and you want to address it.
Mm. Yeah, I was even thinking about just like carrying your phone, like looking at your phone all the time, right? That probably worsens your forward head carriage. And I try to be very proactive now. I just like hold it really close, like in front of me, like that. I
Exactly.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, helps a little bit more instead of always looking down. So, and I definitely do notice that, Dr. Just, my neck, like there's sometimes that tension, especially if you're doing this like for hours at a time. So definitely very important to be aware when it's happening, right? When the wear and tear is going on. Yeah. So sign number 7 is varicose veins. So these are those like spider veins, and sometimes they can look really jumbled up, especially on your lower legs. My dad has this, and he's actually very self-conscious about this, because like he notices that this is always protruding out of his legs, dark colored, and sometimes this could be you can get this when even after pregnancy as well, because there's a lot of that stress on the body with taking trying to create the baby and everything. And what these veins are like, normally when they're working well, these veins, you don't even see them, they're actually very nice and smooth. But over time, if there's too much of like blood pressure issues, or just like a posture issues too, if you're sitting for too long, this can cause the veins to become a little bit looser, and then all the blood ends up pooling, and they cause it to become bigger and just look more malformed. And so this is something that can really tell your age a little bit. If you're, in the summertime, you're not wearing, you're just wearing shorts. People can see this. And sometimes this can also mean a deeper issue. Like, for example, like I mentioned, too much high blood pressure, or weaker veins. So this can be obviously not very nice looking, but at the same time can also be telling you there's something deeper going on. And I know for my dad, like we've tried multiple things. Sometimes compression socks can be really good, especially if you're having a bad time with these. And they sometimes they can also be a little bit painful too. So I always love what you said, Dr. Justine, about having that muscle mass, like maintaining that and going to work out all the time, because that can really help keep your veins healthy too, because that's all about circulation too, right? So,
And just so everybody knows, thank you, Dr. Udani. At the Justine Blainey Wellness Center, we do size and sell compression socks. So if you have venous insufficiency diagnosis from your medical doctor, they are covered by Extended Health. There are lower level ones that are more for sports and athletes that are not covered by Extended Health. So there's typically 3 levels of these stockings, from a mild, medium, very strong compression. We sell them, from the knee down, from the top of the leg down, and right from the waist down. So there's sort of 3 different lengths of these, designed for men, designed for women, different colors, and very durable. Like they last quite a while. So we do sell them fairly much at cost. So if that's something that people are interested in, we can help size you with our kinesiologist and help you get the product that you need.
oh, amazing. Great to hear that. So, sign number 8, and this could be a little embarrassing, hearing loss and tinnitus, where you just feel like, it's something that if you're getting there, you don't necessarily want to talk about too, right? And this could be very, very gradual too, where, you're suddenly not hearing certain words that people are saying, or one side feels like there's like muffled sound, or some people even talk about hearing ringing in the ear before it turns into hearing loss. And it's a very, very common problem, actually. And sometimes this can be even more these days, because we're always wearing headphones. Even when you're on a phone call wearing headphones, listening to music or watching movies and things like that. So our ears are constantly kind of exposed to too much sound. And a lot of sometimes, and this can cause inflammation in the hearing cells in the ears. And sometimes, if, like, for example, my dad, once again, I have to repeat whatever I say a couple of times before he gets it, or I have to talk a little bit slower for him to understand it. And he doesn't really like talking about this at all. It's a very touchy topic for him, because he does not want to hear that he's getting older. And and fair enough, right? Nobody does. So this is another sign of that there's potentially some damage happening to the ear, and there's hearing loss. And this doesn't actually have to be something too serious. It could just be you have too much earwax that we need to clear out. And this is something I do in the clinic, actually. So if you're feeling like one side of your ear is more blocked, we can definitely set up a earwax cleaning session, because sometimes that could be the reason. And a lot of times it ends up being there's an obstruction that's stopping the hearing, the ear from working well. So if you are though feeling like, yeah, I'm not hearing that well from one side, or I'm asking people to repeat themselves, or it just doesn't sound the same, get this checked out by your doctor or your naturopath, because we want to stop this before it gets to complete hearing loss.
Do you think you could help explain to us the difference between earwax removal and ear
Mhm.
candling?
Good point. Okay, so the earwax removal, we usually I think it's a little bit more just more thorough, because we're flushing the ear with some warm water to soften up the earwax. And just like, and the earwax actually comes out in real time, so you can really see how much was we end up removing. And ear candling, if I'm not wrong, I don't really necessarily do that in my practice, but I think it's there to soften the wax, and it just comes out by itself. But it might be a longer process than just removing the earwax the way I do it, which is like more we flush it out. So sometimes I do tell my patients to use mineral oil to soften up a little bit more, and then we just flush it out at the session. But yes, I'm not too familiar with the ear candling, actually. So if you know more about it, please feel free to let me know.
No, because patients ask, and it isn't typically done by health professionals. You do often see it done though in different communities, and it does warm up the ear, and is many people will say that it will help with the wax in the ear. Um, but on it, like it's still not done by like your medical doctor or your naturopath.
Gotcha, gotcha. That's why I was like, yeah, sounds like something that I've heard of, but I wasn't necessarily sure what it was. Okay, thank you. All right, so number 9, and this might be the biggest sign that you think, oh, okay, things are kind of going downhill or there's some aging happening. And but please be aware of everything else we just talked about as well. Those can also be signs of aging happening and accelerating. So skin, right? Like Dr. Justine mentioned earlier in the talk, it can look a little bit more drier or crepey, like more paper-like, thinner, and it's not as it doesn't hold its shape as much anymore. There's more sagging. And this is because, over time, we end up losing more of the collagen, and that can cause more wrinkles. So, it can start actually from the eyes, especially because the skin right under the eye is the thinnest. So that's where a lot of times we tend to see more of our wrinkles forming first. And sometimes, our you can get age spots, right? They're called age spots because the skin cells aren't working as well either. Then they call melanocytes, which is the one that produces pigment. So over time, they tend to die out or not work as well. So our skin tend to look a little bit more uneven. And so this complexion changes in skin, this doesn't have to happen. Like, like Dr. Justine mentioned about her grandma, Ruby, who looks 30 years younger because she took care of her skin way before, and proper diet, proper lifestyle, not smoking is a big factor for maintaining your skin too, and you wearing sunscreen. So if you want to look good in your 40s, 50s, 60s, you want to wear sunscreen in your 20s and 30s because you want to protect that skin, that young skin, before it gets to that level. So always being proactive and thinking about the future is really important with skin and helping with the complexion. And number 10 is poor sleep quality. So, I mean, a lot of us can say, the past 2 years has been really, really stressful and probably definitely affected our sleep, not being able to fall asleep easy, tossing and turning. I've had a lot of patients reach out to me about that they just wake up around 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and they can't fall asleep again. So a lot of these can be because of stress, and our lifestyle that's going on with day-to-day events and things like that. And as you get older, it does get harder to fall asleep more and more because the quality we just tend to, like, for example, I'm going to talk about my dad again. He just wakes up at 4 a.m. and he's good to go. All he needs is like 6 hours of sleep. And and that might be normal for him. He's fine. He's been doing this for years now. But sometimes it might not be normal for you because you feel tired, when you wake up, and that's a sign that you did not get enough sleep, during the time. And sleep is so important for our brain to help a detox. When we're sleeping, our brain is actually detoxing during that time. It's helping. It's clearing away dead brain cells, brain nerve cells, making way for ones that are functioning better. There's a system called the lymphatic system. This is really fascinating. It actually washes away the brain cells. So all the waste and all the toxic metabolites are completely flushed out. And all of this happens when we're sleeping. So this is why getting those 7 to 8 hours of sleep uninterrupted is so important. And if you're having trouble with this, you're not alone. A lot of people are. But this is why you want to come in to any holistic practitioners, to our team, or even your naturopath to get help, because over time, this can really cause a lot of the other aging effects that we talked about. Poor sleep quality,
So
like I
true.
mentioned. Yeah, so true. It's just, it can increase your chronic stress, inflammation. I would say the foundations of good health is good diet, good life, good, lifestyle, and good sleep. And of course, proper chiropractic adjustments and movement, exercise. So if we can get sleep down pat and having good quality sleep, it can really help with aging.
Thank you, Danny. So We just talked about all the signs of aging. Let's talk about some strategies and some solutions. We're going to talk about our nutrition, when we eat. We're going to talk about stress, sleep, movement, toxicity, getting hydrated. So, this is time to get your pen out, or to listen to this part again. So, when we look at the first part, an anti inflammatory diet, we've done a ton of talks on this. So, that are, half an hour long. So, definitely I would visit those, but we're looking to have foods that reduce inflammation. Simple things like adding lemons and limes to your water, adding your good essential oils, going towards grass-fed proteins and free-range fish, looking to add your right supplements, because you just can't get it all from your food anymore. We're not eating the same food with the same minerals and earth that it was before. So we do need those supplements, and you want to find out which ones are best for you so that you're not wasting your money um, on supplements that are either poor quality or not good for you. We want to get the right spices. Like, we want to enjoy our food, but which are the ones that are actually going to serve us for our aging? Things like basil, rosemary, oregano, thyme, sage. How are we going to get those spices, and how can we add more of those into our food? So, as you look at the top, you'll see the top anti-inflammatory foods, and I think it's pretty obvious the ones you want to avoid. Anything that's fast, or from a fast food store, usually that's what you want to avoid. The ones that are challenging, of course, is minimizing our grains, especially things like white bread, bagels, muffins, cakes. That's probably the hardest for many of us because it tends to be our go-to comfort food, and learning to help to make that switch slowly. So that's why we do recommend the sprouted, whole grains, and learning to to minimize. So, for example, yesterday made a little charcuterie board, with some nuts and some cheese, but instead of crackers, I use cucumbers and some green apples. So, how can you make those changes and not feel deprived? As we're going into intermittent fasting, again, we've done whole talks on intermittent fasting, but this is an area that's going to help for your body to eliminate, to get rid of those toxins. So you're still having your breakfast, your break your fast meal, but the break your fast meal breakfast does not have to be at 7 in the morning. It can be of hours after you wake up. So you're increasing that time in the day when you're not eating. So, numerous different ways to help your body with your immune system, with cell degeneration, with energy to use your sugars and your glucose in your food and digest it better to get more energy from it by increasing. So, the slowest one would be a 12-12, just eating in a 12-hour window versus, for example, an 18-hour window, and then slowly reducing the hour window of when you're eating. It does not matter if you do a 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. or an 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. The matter is that you're shortening that time period, and then of course trying to eat healthier foods in that time. So, number one, anti-inflammatory diet. Number two, intermittent fasting.
And number three is reducing your stress. And you can do that by laughing and playing more and even being grateful. So when you're stressed, our bodies just doesn't want to focus on anything else other than the stress sometimes. Like, we are constantly thinking about stress. And this is a really important sign for you to realize that I need to take a step back. I need to reduce this stress. Let me go outside, enjoy nature, work out, laugh, watch a funny video, play with your kids, or even just play a sport, because this really helps to reduce your stress. And of course, being grateful. So one of the activities I do myself is, before I go to sleep, I always think about three things that I was grateful for that day. And I always end up sleeping with a much more positive mindset, and my stress becomes a lot less as well. And this is a habit that you just practice, and trust me, it becomes so amazing, because you end up feeling so resilient to a lot of stresses as well. You have a better mindset and just more positive outlook overall too. And if you, yeah, you can totally tell someone to be more grateful as well. Like, what are some things that you're grateful about them, so they feel that way too. And improving sleep quality, so this can be things like having your room colder, so you bundled up, feel more cozy, feel more tired. Keeping it as dark as possible, so I have these blackout curtains that really help to shut off the light, and this could be really good if you're a shift worker and you have to sleep during the day, and so you get those like good hours of sleep. You can use a sleeping mask. I like to actually put some essential oils on my pillow because that helps me, like especially lavender, helps me relax and feel more calm. And of course, don't have any caffeine, even up to like 8 to 6 hours before, because it's very stimulating and will keep you up. And not eating 3 hours in between, because like Dr. Justine mentioned, that helps with the fasting. When you eat 3 hours, 3 hours before you sleep, that already sets up that fasting window open for the body to work better. And regular movement and exercise is what Dr. Justine is going to talk about now.
Yes. I'm Everybody kind of knows you should get out for a walk. You need to get moving. I think everybody knows that once you move, you do feel better. We know that uh a car cannot just stay in the driveway, right? Like it will seize up, just like our bodies will seize up if we sit on the couch too much. It is going to help all parts of your body, including your memory or your lymphatic drainage or your digestion or your mood. We know that if we just get moving, we feel happier. So, but we also remember we talked about different types of exercise and changing it up from muscular building to help build muscle, build bone, to cardio, and to flexibility. So again, get help in this area with a personal trainer like Sue, or from a gym. Use so much that's free on YouTube today, where you can do a 10-minute yoga and then follow it with a 10-minute muscle building or a 10-minute cardio. And you can still get a ton done that's free. And if you want customized, you can talk to our kinesiologist or talk to a personal trainer.
Yes, and number 6 is about reducing your exposure to toxins. So this can really be about buying more organic foods, vegetables. I love using a baking soda wash on some of the vegetables that I don't buy organic, because that can also help reduce your pesticides exposure. And also sometimes even tap water, right, can contain a lot of heavy metals, hormones, antibiotics, and radioactive contaminants and too. So sometimes even installing a Brita tap water filtration that automatically filters it out, or even boiling your water enough and then filtering out even more, can be really good to reduce your toxin exposure. Even using glass containers instead of plastic containers, and we've done many talks on how to reduce toxin exposure too. So please take a look at that as well. And sometimes, actually, no, one of the best ways to reduce your toxic exposure is sweating. So, like Dr. Justine mentioned, get that movement going, exercise, break that sweat, because that really helps to reduce your pesticide amount, your heavy metals in the body as well. So, get your body moving. And speaking of moving, we want to make sure we have good hydration and good bowel movements too, And what is a good bowel movement? It's where you go to the washroom at least 1 to 4 times a day. And when I tell this some of my patients, they're just like, "What? That's impossible for me, because I go every other day," and that is not normal. Okay, you want to make sure that you go to the washroom and you have a good bowel movement, and this is where you feel fully evacuated, like the food you ate, you feel like you pooped it all out, because that lets us know that your digestion system is working well, and it's helping carry out a lot of those toxins out of your body too. So if you're having trouble with this, please talk to me or talk to a nutritionist, because we'd love to help you become more regular.
Number 8 is looking at dentistry. So a lot of dentists will use still fluoride, amalgams. So I encourage asking more questions about the toxicity, and making the best choice for yourself. I know Dr. Ung, who I see here in Brampton, will support my decision in using less fluoride. I don't have any challenges with my teeth, so why would I put more toxins into my body? So each person has to make an individual choice, and it has to be custom to yourself. Compared to, say, my son, who has, more risk with, and my husband, more risk with their teeth, and they have to make a different choice. So definitely looking, and if you have to remove amalgams, that can be very toxic, you need a holistic nutritionist to have big vacuums to get the off gassing away. And you may need to see a specialist for those areas to remove them and put in healthier alternatives.
Mhm.
Number 9 is, of course, chiropractic care, massage, and acupuncture. We need that nervous system functioning well, and we need ways to take care of our muscles and relax our bodies. Dr. Udani also, as a naturopath, does acupuncture, um, and she also does some of the counseling. A lot of times we know what to do, but we can't actually put it in place. We can't make like a plan. So Dr. Udani and I would be happy to create a plan, because it's much easier to execute a plan if you have one. But if
Mhm.
we're feeling like we're floundering, we're trying to balance too many balls in the air, that's when you need a coach, and we're happy to help you.
Mhm.
So some
Amazing.
of
And
the supplements, I know this is cool. Dr. Udani, please, to help us, like, now it's like, oh my God, I got all these hints. What do I take?
absolutely, Dr. Justine. That's a great question because there's so many top products out there, right? And you're walking into the Shoppers Drug Mart or even Costco, and there's just aisles and aisles of supplements, even just Loblaws, And what are the key supplements that can help you with anti-aging and aging well? So these are the ones I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail in the few slides. Um, so vitamin D and K2, CoQ10, what is that? So talk about that. Probiotics, digestive support, getting that good probiotics to help with digestion. Bone broth or collagen protein is really important too, and magnesium and B vitamins. So let's jump right in to vitamin D level. So this is can be very, very low in a lot of patients. And this is why I always say get it tested, especially during the winter times, because all of us don't get enough sun, like especially because, we're always indoors. So an optimal amount of vitamin D is really important because it can help with preventing bone loss. It can be actually really good for your mood and depression. It can be anti-cancer as well, and it can be really good for skin too. So making sure that we get your vitamin D tested and your K2 as well, because K2 lets all that calcium get into your bones for stronger bones, to reduce the risk of osteoporosis and osteopenia. So this is where I will be happy to help you with that too. And supplement 2 is CoQ10. So this supplement really supports, it's an antioxidant. It supports the health of your mitochondria. So mitochondria, like Dr. Steve mentioned, is the powerhouse of your cells. This is the little guy that produces all the energy for you. And CoQ10 really helps support the function of the mitochondria.
And this is the one we sell in the office as well. We have
Right.
both vitamin D with K as well as the CoQ10 in the office. So the
Amazing.
key about trying to get a good quality um, supplement, so that you know what's in the bottle is what you're actually getting.
Absolutely. And sometimes, you got to make sure it's the right quantity too. A lot of good quality supplements have the right quantity of the ingredient that you do need. Yes, and probiotics and digestive support. So probiotics are fantastic for helping calm down that inflammation in the gut, especially let's say you have chronic diarrhea, constipation, bloating, cramping, and it can help even improve your nutrient absorption. So the amount of nutrients you're getting, it can help with weight loss, even help with anxiety. And probiotics, there's so many out there. So, different strains will do different things for you. Some people, when they take too much probiotics, can actually feel more bloated. So then this is where we have to figure out what's the right one for you. And that way you don't spend more money getting something that's not working for you. So you can also naturally increase your probiotics by eating more fermented foods. So pickled foods, anything, vegetables, sauerkraut, miso, kimchi, these are all great fermented and even yogurt that contains probiotics can help with boosting your natural probiotics. Number 4 is bone broth or collagen. So this is a fantastic bone broth is something you can make at home or you can buy at the store too. So when I make mine, I just add a whole bunch of vegetables, some chicken bones, could be leftover chicken, and just let it simmer for like 3-4 hours in low heat. And what that does is that breaks down all of the minerals and the important minerals and vitamins in the chicken and the vegetables, and just gets concentrated in this bone broth. And that when you drink that, that has a lot of these all the good stuff is in there. So when you're taking it in, it really helps with your gut lining and healing, and can add a lot of collagen into your body. Magnesium is something that is so depleted in a lot of people. This is something I actually prescribe to a lot of my patients, because not only does it help with your bones and muscles, but it also helps with your mood, your energy, a lot of the functions in your body. And you can get magnesium from a lot of nuts and seeds and even dark chocolate. So if you're craving chocolate, that could actually be a sign of low magnesium in the body. So don't go for the milk chocolate, go for the dark chocolate that has a higher concentration, and that's much better. Okay, I'll be more impressed by you if you do that. And you can also get this from seeds, a lot of like things like pumpkin seeds, nuts, and avocado have, and even bananas can have a lot of magnesium in it as well. B vitamins are another really important, crucial vitamin for our energy production. Okay, so this helps with our brain function, how our blood cells are working, a lot of energy production, like I mentioned, DNA repair, even our mood. So this is something. These are vitamins that you can get from the store. And sometimes, like Dr. Justine mentioned, the quality of the supplement matters a lot with B vitamins, because a lot of times when it's not used up, it gets flushed out. Like if you've taken B vitamins, you might notice that your pee becomes really, really bright, like fluorescent. So that's a sign that a lot of it was actually like eliminated. So we want to make sure the right B vitamin it's there, because that gets absorbed much more. So B
We
vitamin.
also sell this one at the office, a pure kind in a liquid form, so it's easier to digest.
I mean, yes, I was going to mention that there's a good B12 that Dr. Justine, the clinic, carries that you can take under the tongue, or just on the tongue itself, because that can be really, a liquid form can be more absorbable for sure.
And we personally sell it because of me being vegetarian. You need that B12 because I'm not eating pork or red meat. So just extra important. But have it monitored. If you are a vegetarian, or in my case, I eat fish, so pescatarian, then just double check that you're getting your values tested with your naturopath.
Absolutely, yes. Um, and we're going to now move on to some herbs and compounds for inflammation. So these are some of my favorite herbs that I recommend, that I take for myself too, that can really combat and lower the inflammation, which is the root of most aging, right? So this is curcumin, which is a component of turmeric, that yellow spice. We have boswellia, which is like a resin. So it's coming from a tree, herbal, proteolytic enzymes, resveratrol, which is actually a component of red wine, quercetin, and inflamm defense, which is a proprietary blend that we sell at the clinic as well. So let's jump into the first one. Turmeric is, we've done many talks, that we have a talk about the top 5 herbs for inflammation that you can definitely go check in, because we go much more in depth there too. So turmeric is amazing for so many things, for brain health, for your joints, for digestion support, liver support especially. It can even help with promoting insulin sensitivity. And, this is something you can even make put it into your coffee, for example. Like, you can have a turmeric latte, which I recommend. Put a little oat milk, some turmeric powder, a little bit of black pepper, and honey, and it tastes fantastic. So this is that yellow spice that you can get at many stores now, and it's chock full of this amazing anti-inflammatory compound. Then there's also boswellia, which is a herbal extract that oftentimes comes in supplements. So things including turmeric, ginger, and boswellia are kind of like a super trio that can help with reducing inflammation, especially joint pain. It can also be very good for arthritis, digestion concerns, any pain symptoms. And you can even take something like this. But before you do, I would probably recommend talking to a naturopath, because you don't want to take too many of any of these, because they might interact with some medications if you're on any, or you might not necessarily need this. But this is something for you to keep in mind as well, too, that it is a great anti-inflammatory herb to have in your cupboard. Proteolytic enzymes are, they're basically these little enzymes, little guys that can actually break apart any too many scar tissues or scar formation, and they can help with fighting viruses. They're naturally anti-inflammatory, and this can definitely help with joint pain and sometimes even mucus production too. They can cut through excess mucus. So overall, what they do is they reduce that inflammation. And even with these enzymes, you want to be careful because you don't want to take too much, because they will break apart too many things. So this is another one where you want to consult first to see if you need this. Sometimes I recommend digestive enzymes to patients that have trouble with digestion. So if this is something you are feeling or experiencing, you can for sure touch base with me. And resveratrol, this is the compound in red wine. And this is why people say, red wine is good. It's anti-aging if you take it in moderation. So this is, about 2 to 4 glasses per week for most women, or even less. And so red wine has this component. And this resveratrol really works on the DNA level. It works on DNA level to make sure that your cells aren't aging as quickly as they are. So it really stops it from aging too fast. And and you can get this actually by itself as a supplement, or you can get it more from red wine, grapes, berries can contain this too. And quercetin, so this is a lovely antioxidant that is actually found in apples and onions, and it's a great antioxidant for your skin, for itching and hives. You can use quercetin for that. It can improve your heart health, and even inflammation. So this is another great one to have in your cupboard, but you might not necessarily need it. So it's always good to ask and get an expert opinion to see if this is something you do need. And inflamed defense. So this is, we do carry this, or actually, no, sorry, this is from Dr. Jockers. So we want to honor this article. So we are just promoting it a little bit here too, because this is a proprietary blend of all of these amazing herbs and enzymes and things that we just talked about that is already in one thing, So sometimes too many things taking it can be confusing and overwhelming. And it's good to have one product that has all of these things in it. So the Inflamed Defense is one of these products that Dr. Jockers has from his place.
Wow. Thank you so much, Udani. I mean, that was so much information. You're probably going to have to play this twice, that last section of the supplements, the last section of the herbs, in order to understand it best. And it can feel like we have too many bottles. But what we do need to know is you still need to have a good engine in order to digest these great supplements. And if we're under too much stress, mentally, emotionally, physically, we're not going to be able to digest the great stuff that we put in our bodies, the great gas in the tank, the food in the tank. So we do need to take care of that spine and nervous system, as well as that mental, emotional, spiritual stress. And that's why, as a chiropractor and as a naturopath, we are committed to you. Committed, committed, committed. We want to help you be your best. All of this is we put together free for you, share for friends and family. And the way you can help us is doing a review. We try to put this out there for you, for your families, worldwide, because we're committed to making a difference. So thank you for being with us, and looking forward to being with you again soon.
Thank you for being with us, everybody. Have a good night.